The space around the distant star was quiet and cold. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, the Harmony's Edge, watching the stars through the big window. His blue skin had small patterns that glowed softly in the dim light. The Zephyrian. Captain had been exploring space for 20 years, but he still loved the beauty of new star systems. "Captain, we are getting close to the fourth planet," said Kriana, his science officer. She was younger than Veltar, with bright yellow markings on her arms that showed she was excited. The readings looked very good. This world might be perfect. For our people. Veltar nodded and smiled. The Zephyrians had been looking for new worlds to live on for many years. Their home planet was getting too crowded, and they needed more space. But they only took worlds that had no life already living on them. It was their way to never hurt other living things. "Good work, Kriana," Veltar said. "Start the deep scans. We need to know everything about this world before we can tell our government about it." The Harmony's Edge was a beautiful ship. It was made of white metal that curved like a flower. The Zephyrians built their ships to be pretty and peaceful. They had no weapons, only tools for studying and exploring. Why would they need weapons? In 500 years of space travel, they had never met anyone who wanted to fight. Kriana worked at her station, her long fingers moving over the controls. "The planet has water and land. The air is good for breathing. No signs of intelligent life." She paused and looked at her readings again. "Wait, Captain. I am seeing something strange." "What is it?" Veltar asked. "There is something big behind the second moon. It was hiding, but now it is moving." On the main screen, they could see a dark shape coming around the moon. It was huge, much bigger than their ship. As it got closer, they could see it better. The ship was dark gray, almost black. It had straight lines and sharp edges. Strange bumps and tubes stuck out from all sides. "By the stars," whispered Kriana. "What kind of ship is that?" Veltar felt his heart beat faster. The alien ship looked dangerous. It looked like it was made for fighting, not exploring. Who would build such a thing? Far away, on the bridge of the USS Iron Wolf, Commander Jake Sullivan was having his own surprise. He was a tall man with short brown hair and serious eyes. He had been in space for 15 years, fighting pirates and protecting Earth's colonies. "Commander, we have a contact," said Lieutenant Lisa Barnes from her station. She was the ship's weapons officer, and she was very good at her job. "It just appeared on our sensors. The ship is unlike anything in our database." Jake looked at the main screen. The alien ship was beautiful, but it also looked weak. It was white and curved, with no obvious weapons. It looked like a work of art, not a spaceship. "Red alert," Jake ordered. "All hands to battle stations. Ryan, try to contact them. Lisa, keep our weapons ready, but do not target them yet." Ryan Torres, the communications officer, started working on his equipment. He was a young man who was very good with languages and codes. "I am trying all frequencies, Commander. They are not responding to any of our standard signals." Jake felt the familiar tension of a dangerous situation. In space, you never knew what you might meet. Pirates, enemy ships, or something completely unknown. The Iron Wolf was ready for anything. The Iron Wolf was a warship built for fighting. It had thick armor and powerful weapons. Every person on the ship was trained for combat. They explored space, but they were always ready for war. That was the human way. "Commander," said Amy Carter from the science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life. "I am reading the other ship's design. It has no weapons that I can see. The power systems are very advanced, but they seem to be for peaceful purposes." "That could be a trick," Jake said. "Keep scanning." "Pete, how are our systems?" Chief Engineer Pete Morgan's voice came through the speakers. "All systems are running perfectly, Commander. Weapons are charged and ready. But I have to say, that alien ship has some very interesting technology. On the Harmony's edge, Veltar was trying to understand what he was seeing. The alien ship had moved closer, and now he could see it clearly. It was covered in weapon systems. Big guns, missile, tubes, and things he could not even identify. This was a ship built for war. "Captain," Kriana said, her voice shaking a little, "their weapons are pointed at us. They could destroy us easily." Veltar felt cold fear in his stomach. "Are they going to attack?" "I do not know, Captain. But they are not running away. They are just waiting." The two ships faced each other in the empty space. One was built for peace, beauty, and exploration. The other was built for war, strength, and protection. Neither captain understood the other, but both knew this moment would change everything. Jake studied the alien ship on his screen. "Dr. Lewis, what do you think?" Dr. Kate Lewis, the ship's doctor and expert on alien behavior, looked at the readings. "Their ship design suggests a peaceful culture, Commander. But we should be careful. We know nothing about them." "Agreed," Jake said. "Ryan, keep trying to contact them. Use mathematics, pictures, anything that might work. Amy, scan for any other ships in the area." The tension on both ships was very high. First contact with an alien race was something every spacer dreamed about and feared. How do you talk to someone completely different from you? How do you know if they are friend or enemy? Minutes passed like hours. Both ships waited, watched, and wondered what would happen next. The silence in space felt heavy as both ships waited. On the Harmony's edge, Captain Veltar made the first move. He knew his people's ways demanded that he try to make peace. "Send them our greeting protocol," he told Kriana. "Use the universal mathematics sequence and our peace symbols." Kriana's hands moved quickly over her controls. She sent out a pattern of prime numbers, then pictures of Zephyrine hands held open in friendship. She added music from their homeworld and images of flowers and growing things. On the Iron Wolf, Ryan Torres saw the signals coming in. His eyes grew wide as he studied the patterns. "Commander, they are sending us math problems and art." "Art?" Jake asked, moving to look at Ryan's screen. "Yes, sir. Pictures of plants, music, and what looks like greeting gestures. These aliens seem to be trying to say hello in a peaceful way." Jake felt some of his tension ease, but he stayed alert. "Send back our first contact protocol, but keep it simple and non-threatening." Ryan sent a response with human mathematics and basic pictures of Earth. He included images of humans with their hands raised in peace and simple drawings of their solar system. Dr. Kate Lewis joined them at the communication station. "Commander, look at their ship design again. I have been studying it. There are no visible weapons, no armor plating, no defensive systems. This ship is built purely for exploration." "That is what worries me," Jake said. "Who explores dangerous space without protection?" On the Zephyrine ship, Veltar was asking himself the same question about humans, but in reverse. Who explores space with so many weapons? "Captain," Kriana said, "I am getting more information about their ship. It has enough firepower to destroy a small moon, but they are not using it against us." Veltar felt confused. They could destroy us, but they choose not to. What kind of people are they? The communications kept going back and forth. Slowly, both sides began to understand each other's language. The Zephyrians were amazed by how quickly the humans learned. The humans were surprised by how patient and gentle the aliens were. Amy Carter worked with Ryan to decode the alien language. "Commander, I think I understand some of their words now. They call themselves Zephyrians. They seem to be explorers, like us, but they travel in very different ways." "How so?" Jake asked. "They appear to be purely peaceful. Their ship has no weapons at all. They explore space to find new homes for their people, but they never take worlds that already have life on them. Jake found this hard to believe. No weapons? How do they protect themselves? I think, Amy said slowly, they have never needed to. This idea shocked Jake. He could not imagine exploring space without being ready to fight. Space was full of dangers, pirates, hostile aliens, deadly phenomena. How could anyone survive out here without weapons? On the Harmony's edge, Veltar was learning about humans and feeling equally shocked. Through the slow process of communication, he discovered that humans had been in space for only 200 years. Yet their technology was incredibly advanced, especially their weapons. Captain, Kriana said, I have translated some of their history files, the humans. They have been fighting wars for their entire existence. They have never known a time of complete peace. That is impossible, Veltar said. How can a species develop if they are always fighting? I think, Kriana said, the fighting is what made them develop so quickly. They turned war into a way to learn and grow. The Zephyrians had evolved from plant-eating animals that lived in peaceful herds. They had never known war because they had never needed to fight for food or territory. Their world had always provided everything they needed. Humans had evolved very differently. They had been hunters and fighters from the beginning. They had to struggle for everything they gained. This made them strong, but also suspicious and ready for danger. As the hours passed, both sides shared more information. The Zephyrians learned that humans had spread across many worlds, always ready to defend themselves. The humans learned that Zephyrians had been exploring space for 5 times longer than humans, but had never met another intelligent species. Commander, Dr. Lewis said, I think I understand why they seem so shocked by us. In 500 years of space travel, they have never met anyone who wanted to fight. They do not understand war. And we cannot understand peace, Jake replied. How do they survive in a universe that can be so dangerous? Lieutenant Lisa Barnes, who had been quiet at her weapons station, finally spoke up. Maybe, Commander, the universe is not as dangerous as we think. Maybe we make it dangerous by being ready for danger. This thought troubled Jake. Had humanity's warlike nature created enemies where none existed? Or had their readiness for war kept them safe from threats the Zephyrians had been lucky to avoid? Navigator Tom Brady joined the conversation. Commander, I have been studying their star charts. They have explored hundreds of star systems. They have found dozens of worlds suitable for life. And they have never had a single conflict. That is either very good luck, Jake said, or very good planning. The communication between the ships continued. Both sides were learning, but they were also becoming more confused. The Zephyrians could not understand why humans needed so many weapons. The humans could not understand how the Zephyrians had survived so long without any weapons. Operations. Officer Sam Collins brought up another concern. Commander, what do we do now? First, contact protocols say we should report back to Earth Command. But these aliens seem so different from anything we prepared for. Jake nodded. They are not aggressive, but they are also not defenseless. Their technology is very advanced. They could be valuable allies, or they could be a threat we do not understand yet. On the Harmony's edge, Veltar was having similar thoughts. Kriana, what do we tell our government? We have found a species that could protect us from dangers we never knew existed, but they are also capable of destroying us. I think, Captain, we tell them the truth. We have found a people who are both gentle and fierce. They fight, but they also explore. They carry weapons, but they also seek knowledge. Both captains realized they were facing a decision that would affect their entire species. First contact was not just about meeting aliens. It was about learning what kind of universe they really lived in and what kind of people they wanted to be. The two ships continued to orbit each other, their crews, talking and learning. Neither side knew that very soon they would both discover what it really meant to be human and what it really meant to be Zephyrian. After many hours of careful communication, both ships finally established a clear way to talk. The universal translator systems on both vessels worked together to make real conversation possible. Captain Veltar and Commander Jake Sullivan agreed to have a direct meeting over video communications. When Jake first saw a Zephyrian on his screen, he was surprised by how peaceful they looked. Veltar had soft blue skin with gentle markings, large eyes that seemed kind, and a face that showed no signs of aggression. The alien captain's movements were slow and graceful. When Veltar saw Jake, he noticed the human's sharp eyes, strong jaw, and the way he held himself ready for action. Even in peaceful conversation, the human commander looked like he was prepared for battle. "Greetings, Commander Sullivan," Veltar said in careful English. "I am Captain Veltar of the exploration vessel Harmony's Edge. We come in peace and friendship." "Greetings, Captain Veltar," Jake replied. "I am Commander Jake Sullivan of the USS Iron Wolf. We are pleased to meet you, but we must ask about your intentions in this system." Veltar looked confused. "Our intentions? We are exploring this system to see if the planets might be suitable for our people to live on. We always make sure no intelligent life exists before we consider any world." "And if you found intelligent life?" Jake asked. "Then we would leave immediately," Veltar said. "We would never take a world from others. That would be wrong." Jake found this hard to believe. "You would just leave? Even if the world was perfect for your people?" "Of course," Veltar said. "Why would we do otherwise?" This conversation showed both captains how different their peoples were. Jake explained that humans had to fight for everything they gained. They had to be ready to defend their colonies from pirates, hostile aliens, and dangerous space phenomena. "But Captain," Veltar said, "we have been exploring space for 500 years. We have never met these pirates or hostile aliens you speak of. Perhaps they do not exist." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Oh, they exist. We fight them regularly. Just last month, we had to defend a colony from raiders who wanted to steal their resources." "That is terrible," Veltar said. "But why do these pirates exist? Why do they choose to hurt others?" "Because," Jake said, "some people will always choose to take what they want by force. That is why we need to be strong enough to stop them." Veltar shared information about Zephyrian history. They had never known war because they had never needed to fight for resources. Their whole world provided everything they needed. When they needed more space, they simply found empty worlds to live on. "But what if there were no empty worlds?" Jake asked. "What if you needed resources that someone else had?" "Then we would trade for them," Veltar said. "Or we would find another way to get what we needed. We would never take by force." Jake found this thinking strange but interesting. What if the other people refused to trade? What if they decided to attack you instead? Why would they do that? Veltar asked. "If everyone has what they need, why would anyone attack?" "Because," Jake said, "some people want more than they need. They want power over others." This idea was completely foreign to Veltar. Zephyrians had never developed the concept of conquest or domination. They lived in harmony with each other and with nature. The idea of wanting power over others made no sense to them. Jake began to share human history with Veltar. He told him about Earth's wars, about the competition for resources, about the constant struggle to survive and grow. He explained how humans had learned to turn conflict into progress. Every major advance in human technology came from military research, Jake said. Our space engines, our communication systems, our medical knowledge, all of it was developed because we needed to fight better or survive better. Veltar was amazed and horrified. You mean your people learned to explore space because you wanted to fight wars in space? Not exactly, Jake said. We learned to explore space because we needed to find new resources and new places to live. But we always had to be ready to defend what we found. This is very difficult for me to understand, Veltar admitted. My people have never known such struggles. We work together, we share what we have, and we explore to find new homes for everyone. Jake asked about Zephyrian technology. He was impressed by their advanced systems, but confused by their lack of weapons. Your ships are more advanced than ours in many ways. You could probably build weapons that would make our military jealous. Why do you not? Because we do not need them. Veltar said. What would we use weapons for? Protection, Jake said immediately. Defense, deterrence. Protection from what? Veltar asked. Defense against who? Jake realized he was talking to someone who had never needed to think about enemies. Captain, let me ask you something. If a group of ships attacked your vessel right now, what would you do? I would try to communicate with them, Veltar said. I would find out what they wanted and try to give it to them peacefully. And if they just wanted to destroy you for no reason? Veltar was quiet for a long time. I do not know. That situation has never happened to us. I cannot imagine why anyone would want to destroy us. Jake felt a mixture of admiration and worry. The Zephyrians were so pure in their peaceful nature, but they were also completely unprepared for the dangers of space that humans faced every day. Captain, Jake said, I need to tell you something important. The universe can be a dangerous place. There are people out there who will hurt you just because they can. Pirates, slavers, and worse things exist. But we have never met them, Veltar said. Maybe you have been lucky, Jake said. Or maybe they have not found you yet. But if they do, what will you do? Veltar did not have an answer. The idea of meeting truly hostile aliens was something his people had never considered. They had always believed that intelligence naturally led to peace and cooperation. Jake made a decision. Captain, I think our peoples need to learn from each other. You can teach us about peace and cooperation. We can teach you about protection and defense. You would do that? Veltar asked. You would share your knowledge with us? Yes, Jake said. Because I think we both need what the other has. The conversation continued for hours. Both captains learned that the universe was much bigger and more complicated than either of them had imagined. The Zephyrians had found a path of pure peace, but they were vulnerable to dangers they had never faced. The humans had found a path of strength and survival, but they had never known true peace. As they talked, both captains began to wonder if there was a way to combine the best of both worlds. Could strength and peace exist together? Could a species be both gentle and fierce, both explorer and warrior? They were about to find out. The conversation between the two captains was suddenly interrupted by urgent alarms on both ships. Lieutenant Lisa Barnes called out from her station on the Iron Wolf. Commander, we have multiple contacts approaching fast. 3 ships unknown. Design coming in hot. Jake immediately switched to combat mode. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. He turned to the screen where Veltar still appeared. Captain, we have company. You need to move your ship to safety immediately. Veltar looked confused. Safety? What do you mean? Those ships are coming in attack formation, Jake said. They are not here to talk. On the Harmony's edge, Kriana was reading her sensors with growing alarm. Captain, the approaching ships are heavily armed. They are sending a message. The message came through on both ships at the same time. A harsh voice spoke in broken English. Attention ships. You will surrender all technology and cargo immediately. Any resistance will result in destruction. You have 2 minutes to comply. Veltar stared at the screen in shock. They want to steal from us? But why? We can. Share what we have. Because they are pirates, Jake said grimly. They do not want to share. They want to take everything and probably sell you as slaves. Slaves? Veltar could not understand the word. People who are forced to work without freedom, Jake explained quickly. Captain, you need to get your ship behind us. We will protect you. But your ship is smaller than ours, Veltar said. How can you protect us? Size is not everything, Jake said. Trust me. The 3 pirate ships were getting closer. They were ugly vessels, built from stolen parts and covered in weapons. Each ship was bigger than the Iron Wolf, but Jake had faced worse odds before. Commander, Amy Carter reported, the pirate ships are scanning both vessels. They seem very interested in the Zephyrian technology. Of course they are, Jake said. That ship is worth a fortune to the right buyers. Ryan, open a channel to the pirates. Channel open, sir. Attention pirate vessels, Jake said in a cold voice. You are ordered to leave this system immediately. Any hostile action will be met with deadly force. The pirate leader laughed. 1 little human warship against 3 of ours? You must be joking. Stand down or be destroyed. Wrong answer, Jake said. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Lisa, target the lead ship. Pete, give me everything you have got. Sam, plot an intercept course. Tom, stay close to the Zephyrian ship. Captain Veltar watched in amazement as the human ship moved to position itself between the Harmony's edge and the approaching pirates. The Iron Wolf was much smaller than any of the pirate vessels, but it moved with deadly purpose. Captain, Kriana said, the human ship is outnumbered 3-1. They cannot possibly win. Maybe they do not intend to win, Veltar said. Maybe they intend to give us time to escape. But we cannot leave them to die for us, Kriana protested. We have no weapons to help them with, Veltar said sadly. We can only watch. A first pirate ship opened fire on the Iron Wolf. Bright energy beams and missiles flew through space. But the human ship was not where the pirates expected it to be. It had moved at the last second, dodging the attack completely. The Iron Wolf's return fire was precise and devastating. Its weapons hit the pirate ship's engines, crippling it immediately. The pirate vessel began to spin out of control. Impossible, the pirate leader shouted. How did they move so fast? Commander Jake Sullivan smiled grimly. Lisa, target ship 2. Pete, rotate the shields. Sam, attack pattern Delta. The second pirate ship tried to flank the Iron Wolf, but Jake had expected this. The human ship spun around and fired a full spread of missiles. The pirate ship's shields collapsed under the assault. On the Harmony's edge, the Zephyrians watched in stunned silence. They had never seen combat before, but they could recognize the skill and precision of the human tactics. The Iron Wolf was not just fighting. It was dancing a deadly dance that the pirates could not follow. Captain, Kriana whispered, they are not just defending us. They are winning. The third pirate ship, seeing its companions in trouble, tried to run, but it was too late. The Iron Wolf had positioned itself perfectly to cut off all escape routes. Surrender now, Jake broadcast, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed. The pirate leader was desperate. You cannot defeat us all. We have reinforcements coming. Do you? Jake asked calmly. Amy, are you detecting any other ships? No, sir. They are lying. Jake's voice turned cold. Last chance. Surrender or die. The pirates chose to fight. It was a mistake. The Iron Wolf's weapon systems were far more advanced than anything the pirates had. In the space of 5 minutes, all 3 pirate ships were either destroyed or disabled. As the battle ended, Silence fell over both ships. The Zephyrians had just witnessed something they had never imagined possible. A single ship defeating 3 larger enemies through superior skill and tactics. "Commander Sullivan," Veltar said slowly, "how did you do that?" "Training," Jake said simply. "Experience. And the right equipment for the job. But they were bigger than you. They had more weapons. Size and numbers do not always win," Jake explained. "Speed, skill, and smart thinking can beat bigger enemies." Dr. Kate Lewis joined the conversation. "Captain Veltar, this is why humans build warships. We have to be ready for people who want to hurt us." "I understand now," Veltar said. "Without you, those pirates would have taken our ship and our people. They would have hurt us." "Yes," Jake said. "And this is what we deal with regularly. This is why we cannot explore space with peaceful ships like yours." Veltar was quiet for a long moment. "Commander, your people saved us. We owe you our lives." "You do not owe us anything," Jake said. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what good people do." "But we could not do the same for you," Veltar said sadly. "We have no weapons, no way to fight." "You do not need weapons to help," Jake said. "You have other things we need. Your knowledge, your technology, your wisdom about peace." "What do?" "You mean?" "Captain," Jake said, "we have been fighting for so long, we have forgotten what peace looks like. You can teach us. And we can teach you how to defend the peace you have built." Veltar realized that the human commander was offering something incredible, a partnership between their peoples. The Zephyrians could provide knowledge and wisdom, while the humans could provide protection and strength. "You would do this?" Veltar asked. "You would protect people you barely know?" "Yes," Jake said without hesitation. "Because that is what makes us human. We fight so that others do not have to." For the first time, Veltar truly understood what humans were. They were not just warriors, they were guardians. They carried weapons not to conquer, but to protect. They were strong not for themselves, but for others. The battle was over, but something new was beginning. A friendship between 2 very different peoples, based on mutual respect and understanding. 3 days had passed since the battle with the pirates. The 2 ships now traveled together through space, heading toward Zephyrian territory. The crews had been sharing information, food, and stories. It was the beginning of something neither species had expected. Commander Jake Sullivan stood in the Iron Wolf's meeting room with several of his officers. On the main screen, Captain Veltar and his crew appeared from the Harmony's edge. They were having their first official diplomatic meeting. "Captain," Jake said, "we have been thinking about what happened with the pirates. We need to discuss what this means for both our peoples." Veltar nodded. "We have been thinking too, Commander. We realize now that the universe is more dangerous than we knew. We have been lucky for 500 years, but luck does not last forever. The pirates were just the beginning," Jake said. "There are worse things out there. Slavers who capture entire planets. War fleets that destroy civilizations for fun. Criminal organizations that would see your peaceful people as easy targets." Kriana spoke up. "But Commander, we do not know how to fight. We have never built weapons. We do not understand war." "You do not need to understand war," Jake said. "You need to understand protection. There is a difference." Dr. Kate Lewis joined the conversation. "Captain Veltar, what Commander Sullivan is suggesting is an alliance. We protect your people, and you share your knowledge with us." "What kind of knowledge?" Veltar asked. "Your people have been exploring space for 5 times longer than we have," Amy Carter explained. "You have technologies we can only dream of. Your medical knowledge, your understanding of different worlds, your diplomatic skills, all of these could help humanity." "And in return?" Veltar asked. "In return," Jake said, We make sure no one hurts your people. We teach you how to defend yourselves. We share our strength so you can keep your peace." Veltar discussed this with his crew in their own language. After several minutes, he turned back to the humans. "Commander, we must ask, why would you do this? You barely know us." Jake thought for a moment before answering. "Captain, do you know what we call people who prey on the weak and helpless?" "No," Veltar said. "We call them bullies. And humans hate bullies more than anything else in the universe." "I do not understand." "Your people are everything good about civilization," Jake explained. "You explore to learn, not to conquer. You build to create, not to destroy. You seek new worlds to grow, not to take from others. People like that deserve to be protected." Lieutenant Lisa Barnes added, "Captain, in our history, the best of humanity has always stood up to protect those who could not protect themselves. It is who we are." Veltar was moved by these words. "But what if protecting us puts your people in danger?" "Then we face that danger," Jake said simply. "That is what soldiers do." "And what if we cannot give you enough in return?" "Captain, Doctor," Lewis said, "you have already given us something very valuable." "What is that?" "Hope," she said. "For 500 years, you have proven that intelligence can lead to peace. You have shown that it is possible to explore the universe without making enemies. That gives us hope for our own future." Jake nodded. "Humanity has been fighting for so long, we started to think that war was natural. You have shown us that peace is possible. That is worth protecting." Navigator Tom Brady spoke up. "Captain, we have been studying your star charts. You have found dozens of worlds suitable for human colonies. You have mapped safe routes through dangerous space. You have knowledge that could save millions of human lives. And you, operations," Officer Sam Collins added, "have medical technology that could cure diseases we have been fighting for centuries. Your people live much longer than ours. You have solved problems we are still struggling with." Veltar began to understand. "So, we each have something the other needs." "Exactly," Jake said. "You need protection. We need knowledge. Together, we can both grow stronger." "But Commander," Veltar said, "what about your government? Will they accept this alliance?" "They will when they see what we have learned," Jake said. "And what about your government?" "They will need to be convinced," Veltar admitted. "Many of my people will be frightened by your weapons and your history of war. Then we will have to show them," Jake said, "that weapons in the right hands protect peace. They do not destroy it." The conversation continued for hours. Both sides discussed the challenges they would face. The Zephyrians would need to learn about threats they had never imagined. The humans would need to learn about diplomacy and peaceful exploration. But both sides also saw the opportunities. The Zephyrians could expand their exploration with human protection. The humans could learn new ways to solve problems without fighting. "There is one more thing we need to discuss," Jake said. "Training." "Training?" Veltar asked. "Your people need to learn basic self-defense," Jake explained. "Not to fight wars, but to protect themselves until help arrives. And some of your people might want to learn to be protectors themselves." "You mean Zephyrians becoming soldiers?" "Not soldiers," Jake said. "Guardians. People who use strength to protect others, not to conquer them." This idea was very new to Veltar, but he could see the wisdom in it. "And what would your people learn from us?" "Patience," Dr. Lewis said. "Your people take time to understand before they act. We sometimes act too quickly." "Cooperation," Amy Carter added. "Your people work together naturally. Humans sometimes compete when we should cooperate." "And wisdom," Jake said. "Your people have learned to find solutions without violence. That is something we need to learn." Chief Engineer Pete Morgan's voice came through the speakers. Captain Veltar, I have been working with your engineers. Your technology is amazing. You have solved energy problems that we thought were impossible. And your engineers, Kriana replied, have shown us ways to make our systems stronger and more efficient. We never thought about making our ships more durable. As the meeting continued, both sides began to see a future neither had imagined. The Zephyrians would continue their peaceful exploration, but they would do so under the protection of human guardians. The humans would learn new ways to solve problems and explore the universe. Commander, Veltar said finally, I think this alliance could work, but we must be careful. We must make sure that in protecting peace, we do not lose it. Agreed. Jake said, we will start slowly. A few human ships will travel with your exploration fleets. A few Zephyrian scientists will work with our research teams. We will learn from each other. And if there are problems? Veltar asked. Then we will solve them together, Jake said. That is what allies do. Dr. Lewis smiled. Captain, I think this is the beginning of something wonderful. Your people have shown us that peace is possible. Our people have shown you that peace can be protected. Together, Jake said, we can build a future where both peace and strength exist side by side. The meeting ended with both sides feeling hopeful. The Zephyrians would return to their government with news of their first allies. The humans would report that they had found not just a new species, but a new way of thinking about the universe. As the days passed, the two ships continued their journey together. The crews became friends, sharing meals and stories. The Zephyrians learned about human courage and determination. The humans learned about Zephyrian wisdom and patience. Commander, Jake Sullivan stood on his bridge, watching the stars. Lieutenant Lisa Barnes joined him. Sir, do you think this alliance will really work? I think, Jake said, it has to work. We have found something special here, Lisa. A people who represent the best of what intelligence can achieve. If we can protect that, if we can learn from that, then maybe humanity has a brighter future than we thought. And if we fail, then we will have tried, Jake said. And that is what makes us human. On the Harmony's edge, Captain Veltar was having a similar conversation with Kriana. Captain, are you sure we can trust these humans? They are so different from us. That is exactly why we can trust them, Veltar said. They could have destroyed us easily, but they chose to protect us instead. They fight, but they fight for others, not for themselves. And you think we can learn to be like them? I think, Veltar said, we can learn to be strong like them, while they learn to be peaceful like us. Together, we can be something neither of us could be alone. The two ships reached the edge of Zephyrian space. Soon, they would meet the Zephyrian government and begin the long process of building a true alliance. It would not be easy, but both sides believed it was possible. As they prepared to enter Zephyrian territory, Jake made one final log entry. Today, we have discovered that the universe is bigger than we thought. We have found allies who will make us better than we were. We have learned that strength and peace can work together. This is the beginning of a new chapter for both our species. Captain Veltar made his own log entry. We have learned that the universe can be dangerous, but it can also be wonderful. We have found protectors who will keep us safe while we continue to explore and grow. We have learned that peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of those willing to defend it. The alliance between humans and Zephyrians would grow stronger over the years. Human ships would escort Zephyrian explorers to new worlds. Zephyrian scientists would help. Humans solve problems without violence. Together, they would build a confederation of peaceful world.
The Empire challenged Earth. Now their worlds lie in ruins. Part 1. Alan Carter stood on the bridge of the spaceship Defiant. His blue uniform showed his rank as commander of Earth's small defense fleet. Through the main window, He saw strange lights appear at the edge of the solar system. These were not stars. They were ships. Alien ships. "How many are there?" Alan asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Lisa Pearson, his second in command, checked the screens. "At least 300 large vessels, sir. More appearing. Every minute." Earth had known about aliens for only 5 years. Until now, contact had been limited to a few distant messages. No one expected a fleet of this size. "Send word to Earth Command," Alan ordered, "and get me all available data on those ships." The crew worked quickly. The mood on the bridge was tense but focused. These were trained soldiers, but they had never faced anything like this. "Message coming in from the lead alien ship," said Communications Officer John Brown. "They want to speak with Earth's leaders." Within an hour, screens around the world showed the face of the alien commander. It had gray skin, 4 yellow eyes, and spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that translation computers turned into English. "People of Earth, I am Supreme Overlord Xanthex of the Valhari Empire. For 10,000 years we have brought order to the galaxy. 1,000 worlds bow to us. You will be next. Surrender your planet and serve the Empire, or face extinction. You have 3 Earth days to decide." The message ended. Panic spread across the globe. In Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. President Susan Miller looked at the grim faces around her. "What do we know about these Valhari?" she asked. General William Jackson stood up. He was a tall man with dark skin and a serious face. "Not much, Madam President. From what we can tell, they have conquered every civilization they've encountered. Their technology is far beyond ours." "Can we fight them?" asked the Chinese president. The room fell silent. Fighting seemed impossible, but surrender meant the end of human freedom. "Maybe," said a voice from the back of the room. Dr. Olivia Reyes stepped forward. She was the head of Earth's Advanced Technology Division. "We've been studying alien technology since first contact. We have some ideas that might help, but we need time." President Miller nodded. "Then we'll buy you time, Doctor." The decision was made. Humanity would fight. On the 3rd day, Commander Alan Carter was chosen to deliver Earth's answer. His image was broadcast to the Valhari fleet. "Supreme Overlord," he said, keeping his voice firm. "I speak for Earth. We have considered your offer. Our answer is no. Earth will not surrender." There was a long silence. Then Xanthex appeared, on screen. The alien seemed more curious than angry. "Interesting. Most species beg for mercy. You choose death instead." "We choose freedom," Alan replied. "Humans don't bow easily." Xanthex made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your courage is noted, but meaningless. Prepare yourselves. The conquest begins tomorrow." As the alien's face disappeared from the screen, Alan turned to his crew. "Send the signal. Operation Scattered Shield begins now." Across the solar system, Earth's small fleet of 20 warships moved into position. They couldn't match the aliens in power, but they knew their own space better. On Earth, Dr. Reyes worked with a team of scientists from around the world. They had converted an old mountain base into a research center. "The Valhari ships use a type of energy shield we've never seen before," she explained to her team. "But our probes detected something interesting. When they pass through Earth's upper atmosphere, there's a small energy fluctuation." "A weakness?" asked her assistant, Pete Garcia. "Maybe," Olivia said. "It's something to work with." The next day, the Valhari attacked. Their ships entered Earth's atmosphere over major cities. Their weapons turned skyscrapers to dust. Millions died in the first hour. But Earth was not defenseless. Hidden missile bases fired special rockets designed by Dr. Reyes. They didn't try to destroy the alien ships, just disrupt their shields for a few seconds, long enough for conventional weapons to cause damage. In orbit, Commander Carter's fleet used the moon's gravity to swing their ships at impossible angles, hitting the aliens from unexpected directions. They targeted engines and weapon systems, then disappeared behind planets and asteroids before the Valhari could respond. "They fight like nothing we've encountered," reported a Valhari captain to Supreme Overlord Xanthex. "They use their weakness as strength. When outmatched, they don't attack directly. They strike and vanish. Xanthex was not worried. A minor delay. No species has ever resisted us for long. Increase the attack force, destroy their major cities. They will break. But humans didn't break. As cities burned, survivors formed resistance groups. When Valhari ground troops landed in Chicago, they found empty streets. Then snipers opened fire from hidden positions. When the aliens called for reinforcements, the humans were already gone. In the Rocky Mountains, a group led by former park ranger Steve Miller ambushed Valhari search parties. In the Amazon rainforest, local guides helped soldiers target alien supply lines. After 2 weeks, the Valhari had destroyed many cities but controlled little territory. Their losses were small but steady. For the first time in centuries, they faced an enemy that adapted faster than they could. In his command ship, Xanthex received reports of resistance across the planet. "These humans are more trouble than expected," he told his war council, "but they cannot win. Begin Phase 2. We will show them the true power of the Empire." On the Defiant, Commander Carter watched as a new wave of Valhari ships entered the solar system. These were bigger than the first ones, planet killers. "Send word to Earth," he told Lisa. "Tell Dr. Reyes we need that breakthrough now. And tell all ships to prepare for Operation Last Stand." Alan looked out at the stars. The real war was just beginning. Humanity faced its greatest challenge. But for the first time in Valhari history, the Empire faced an enemy that refused to accept defeat. An enemy that grew stronger with each setback. The Empire had challenged Earth. They didn't know yet that this would be their last conquest. The Empire challenged Earth. Now their worlds lie in ruins. Part 2. 6 months passed since the Valhari first attacked Earth. Major cities lay in ruins. Millions had died. But Earth was not beaten. The alien ships controlled the skies, but on the ground, humans fought back. Dr. Olivia Reyes worked day and night in her mountain lab. The place was crowded with scientists from around the world. They studied pieces of crashed Valhari ships brought in by special teams. "Look at this," Olivia said to her team. She pointed to a screen showing energy patterns. "Their shields change when hit by this type of radiation. It's a type that only exists naturally on Earth." Pete Garcia nodded. "So we have something they've never dealt with before?" "Exactly. If we can make weapons that use this radiation, we might be able to get through their shields." Around the world, humans adapted to life under attack. In what was once New York, survivors lived in subway tunnels. They came out at night to find food and watch enemy movements. In the countryside, farms were hidden under special covers that blocked alien sensors. In the mountains of Colorado, Steve Miller led a growing group of fighters. They used old hunting rifles and homemade bombs against Valhari ground troops. The aliens had better weapons but didn't know the land. "They always follow the same patterns," Steve told his group one night. "They never expect us to attack from above, and they don't handle snow well." The resistance grew stronger each month. People shared information using old radio systems and hand-delivered messages that the aliens couldn't track. In space, the battle continued. Most of Earth's original fleet was destroyed, but Commander Alan Carter and the Defiant survived. They used the asteroid belt as a hiding place, striking when the aliens least expected it. "They're bringing in more ships," Lisa Pearson told Alan, as they looked at sensor readings. "Bigger ones, planet killers." Alan nodded grimly. "They're getting desperate. We're not following their usual conquest plan." On his command ship, Supreme Overlord Xanthex was angry. He had conquered 1,000 worlds, but Earth refused to fall. "Send in the special forces," he ordered his generals. "I want their resistance leaders found and killed." Xanthex had never needed to use special forces before. Most species surrendered after the first attack. The longer humans fought, the more resources the Empire had to use. Other conquered worlds were watching. In Washington, D.C., the remains of the world's governments operated from deep underground bunkers. President Miller met with her advisors. "The Valhari have landed special forces in multiple locations," General Jackson reported. "They're hunting our leadership." "What about Dr. Reyes?" the president asked. "Has she made progress?" "Yes. She's developed something called a pulse disruptor. It can temporarily disable Valhari technology within a small area. Not enough to win the war, but enough to give us a fighting chance in ground battles. The president looked at the maps, showing Valhari-controlled areas. We need more than that. We need to take the fight to them. In another part of the world, Captain Diane Foster led a small team on a dangerous mission. They had tracked a damaged Valhari ship that crashed in a remote desert. Their goal: capture alien technology and any survivors. Diane was a former Special Forces soldier with dark hair cut short and a scar on her left cheek. Her team moved silently through the sand toward the smoking ship. "Heat signatures inside," whispered Joe Kelly, the team's sensor expert. "At least 3 still alive." Diane nodded. "Remember, we want prisoners and technology. Set weapons to stun, if possible." They entered the ship through a tear in its side. Inside it was dark and filled with strange smells. They found 3 injured Valhari crew members trying to repair a communication device. After a short fight, Diane's team captured the aliens and collected as much technology as they could carry. This was the first time humans had captured live. Valhari back at base, experts questioned the prisoners while others studied the ship's computers. They learned about Valhari military tactics and communication systems, important information that Dr. Reyes could use. "They're not used to adapting," Diane told her superiors during the debriefing. "Their entire conquest strategy depends on overwhelming force and quick surrender. They don't know how to fight a long war." This information spread to resistance groups worldwide. People began to see that the Valhari could be beaten if humans kept changing tactics and never fought the same way twice. In her lab, Dr. Reyes made another breakthrough. Using the captured technology, she found a way to intercept some Valhari communications. "They're calling in a new commander," she told President Miller over a secure line. "Someone named Krelvor. Apparently Xanthex is being criticized for taking too long to conquer us." "So we're causing problems for them?" the president asked. "More than they expected. According to these messages, no species has ever resisted them for this long. They're committing more ships than planned. It's affecting their control of other worlds." On the Defiant, Commander Carter received word of a new plan: Operation Phoenix. Earth would build its own fleet using a combination of human innovation and captured Valhari technology. "We've hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt," General Jackson explained in a secret meeting. "Dr. Reyes has figured out how to adapt Valhari weapons to our ships. They won't be as powerful as theirs, but they'll be faster and harder to detect." "How many ships?" Alan asked. 20 to start. Small but effective. Your job is to protect the shipyards until they're ready." Alan looked at the plans. For the first time since the war began, he felt real hope. Humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were preparing to strike back. In his new command ship, Supreme Commander Krelvor arrived to take over the Earth conquest. He was bigger than Xanthex, with battle scars across his gray face. He was not known for mercy. "I will crush these humans within 30 days, he promised the Empire's leaders. "They will learn the price of defiance." But as his ship entered, Earth's solar system hidden sensors watched. Earth was ready. The real war was about to begin. The Empire challenged Earth. Now their worlds lie in ruins. Part 3. 1 year had passed since the Valhari arrived. Earth was wounded but fighting back. In the hidden shipyards among the asteroids, humans had built something new. A fleet of their own commander, Alan Carter, walked through the main bay of Shipyard Alpha. 20 ships gleamed under the lights. They were smaller than Valhari vessels but looked dangerous. Each one combined Earth technology with captured alien systems. "They're ready," said Chief Engineer Sam Wells. He was an older man with gray hair who had once built submarines. Not as powerful as theirs, but faster and harder to detect. Alan nodded. "And the special weapons?" "Installed and tested. Dr. Reyes's shield disruptors work perfectly. Operation Phoenix was about to begin. After a year of being hunted, humans would start hunting back." On Earth, Supreme Commander Krelvor was angry. He had promised to crush human resistance in 30 days. 7 months later, he was still fighting. The humans used strange tactics. They never attacked the same way twice. They struck from unexpected places, then disappeared. "Find their hidden bases," he shouted at his officers. "Use the planet killers if necessary." But the planet killers were meant for quick victories, not long wars. Using them would destroy resources the Empire wanted. Crelvor knew the Emperor was becoming impatient. Other conquered worlds were watching Earth's resistance with interest. In her mountain laboratory, Dr. Olivia Reyes prepared for the next phase. Her team had created devices called pulse disruptors. These could temporarily disable Valhari technology within a small area. "We've made 500 of them," she told President Miller during a secure call. "They've been distributed to resistance groups worldwide." "Will they be enough?" the president asked. "Not to win the war," Olivia admitted. "But combined with Commander Carter's attack from space, they might change the balance." Captain Diane Foster's team had grown into a network of spies. They gathered information from captured communication hubs and damaged ships. Her agents had spread throughout the solar system, watching Valhari movements. "They're pulling ships from other systems," Diane reported. "Earth is costing them more than expected, and there are rumors of unrest on worlds they conquered long ago." The day of Operation Phoenix arrived. Commander Carter addressed the crews of the 20 new ships. "Today we take the fight to them," he said. "For a year they've attacked our home. Now we show them humans don't just defend, we strike back." The fleet left the asteroid belt silently. Their first target was the Valhari command ships orbiting Mars. These controlled all enemy operations in the inner solar system. On Mars orbit, Valhari Captain Dresnar was aboard. His ship, the Conqueror, led the command fleet. Nothing exciting had happened for weeks. The humans were barely a threat in space anymore. "Sir," called his sensor officer suddenly, "I'm detecting something strange. Energy readings, but they don't match any known signatures." Before Dresnar could respond, alarms sounded across his ship. 20 vessels appeared, moving faster than any ship he had seen before. "Impossible," he whispered. "They can't have built new ships." But the evidence was on his screens. Human ships using modified Valhari weapons fired at his fleet. The first shots hit perfectly, disabling shield generators and weapon systems. Commander Carter stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Avenger. "Target their command systems," he ordered. "Don't give them time to respond." The battle was short but fierce. The human ships were outgunned but struck with precision. They targeted specific systems rather than trying to destroy whole ships. Within an hour, half the Valhari fleet was disabled or damaged. Captain Dresnar sent desperate messages to Earth. "We are under attack. Humans have ships with our technology. Send reinforcements." But help would come too late. The human fleet disabled the command ships, planted explosive devices, and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. On Earth, resistance groups activated their pulse disruptors at the same time as the space attack. Valhari ground vehicles and communication systems suddenly failed. Humans attacked their confused enemies with everything from modern weapons to farming tools. In North America, Steve Miller's mountain fighters struck 3 major Valhari bases in one night. In Europe, resistance cells disabled supply depots. In Asia, saboteurs infiltrated alien communication centers. Supreme Commander Crelvor watched his carefully planned conquest fall apart. Reports of attacks came from everywhere at once. His space fleet was in chaos. Ground forces were cut off from support. "This is impossible," he told his officers. "They're primitives. They can't coordinate attacks on this scale." But they had. The humans had studied Valhari tactics, found weaknesses, and struck at the perfect moment. Crelvor sent an urgent message to the Emperor on Xanthar Prime. "The situation is worse than reported. Request immediate reinforcements and permission to use full planetary cleansing." The Emperor's response was cold. "You are relieved of command. Return to Xanthar Prime immediately. High Executor Miraleth will take over Earth operations." It was the ultimate shame. Crelvor had failed where no commander had failed before. He was being replaced by Miraleth, the Empire's most ruthless leader. In the days after Operation Phoenix, Earth celebrated its first major victory. The Valhari had been pushed back to Earth orbit. Their ground forces were in disarray. This is just the beginning, Commander Carter told his captains as they planned their next attack. They'll send more ships, but now they know we can hurt them. On her way to Earth, High Executor Miraleth reviewed the reports of the human counterattack. Unlike Krelvor, she did not underestimate these primitives. They had done what no species had done before. They learned too quickly, she told her war council. We must end this before other worlds follow their example. Miraleth brought with her the Empire's most dangerous weapons, planet killers that could turn continents to ash, world shapers that could make Earth uninhabitable. The Emperor has authorized full cleansing, she announced. No more attempts at conquest. Earth will be an example of what happens to those who defy the Empire. But as her fleet approached Earth, human sensors detected them. Captain Diane Foster's spies sent warnings. Dr. Reyes analyzed the new threat. They're bringing weapons we've never seen before, she told world leaders. This is their final solution. Commander Carter gathered his fleet. President Miller rallied Earth's remaining forces. The true test was coming. Humanity had bloodied the Empire's nose, but now the full might of Valhari power was heading toward Earth. The war was entering its most dangerous phase. The Empire challenged Earth. Now their worlds lie in ruins. Part 4. 3 years had passed since the Valhari first appeared in Earth's sky. The planet was scarred but still fighting. 1/3 of the human population was gone, but those who remained had become strong in ways the aliens never expected. High Executor Miraleth had arrived 2 years ago with planet-killing weapons. She had planned to make Earth an example. Instead, she found herself locked in the longest war in Empire history. The tide had turned when Dr. Olivia Reyes completed the Prometheus protocol. She stood in her lab, looking at the small device on the table. It didn't look dangerous, just a simple metal box with lights. Will it work? President Miller asked. She had aged greatly during the war. Her hair was now white, her face lined with worry. It should, Olivia answered. The Valhari have never needed protection against this kind of attack. The Prometheus protocol was a virus designed to infect and corrupt Valhari command systems. Unlike human military networks, which had cyber defense layers dating back centuries, the Empire had never faced digital warfare from lesser species. Commander Alan Carter arrived at the lab with Captain Diane Foster. Both wore battle scars from years of fighting. My fleet is in position, Alan said. Diane's agents have identified the weak points in their network. The plan was simple but dangerous. A small team would need to place the virus device on a Valhari command ship. From there, it would spread throughout their fleet. I'll lead the mission, Diane said firmly. My team knows their ships better than anyone. That night, Diane and 5 others boarded a small shuttle. They wore stolen Valhari armor and carried fake ID codes created from captured data. Their target was Miraleth's flagship, the Dominion, currently orbiting above what was once London. On the Dominion, Miraleth was growing frustrated. 3 years of fighting had depleted the Empire's patience. Other conquered worlds were showing signs of unrest. The Emperor demanded results. The cleansing begins tomorrow, she told her officers. No more attempts at conquest. We will make this planet uninhabitable as a warning to others. As she spoke, a small shuttle requested permission to dock. According to its codes, it carried replacement parts for damaged systems. Permission was granted. Diane and her team moved through the ship carefully. They wore breathing masks under their helmets. Valhari air was toxic to humans. Guards barely looked at them. In 3 years of war, no human had ever infiltrated a flagship before. It wasn't considered possible. They reached the main computer core. While her team stood watch, Diane placed the virus device against a control panel. It attached itself and began to glow softly. Device planted, she whispered into her hidden communicator. Returning to shuttle. But as they turned to leave, alarms sounded throughout the ship. Intruder alert, security breach in computer core, a voice announced. Guards ran toward them from both directions. Plan B, Diane ordered. Her team drew weapons and fought their way back toward the shuttle bay. 2 were killed in the running battle. Another was badly wounded. Diane dragged the injured team member onto the shuttle as guards fired at them. The door closed just in time. They launched, racing away from the Dominion as fighter ships pursued them. "We won't outrun them," said Joe Kelly, piloting the shuttle. "But we don't need to. Just a few more minutes." On the Dominion, Miraleth ordered the shuttle destroyed. But before her orders could be carried out, strange errors appeared on control screens throughout the ship. "What is happening?" she demanded. "Some kind of system failure," an officer replied. "Our computers are acting strangely, weapons targeting our own ships." The virus had activated. It spread from ship to ship, corrupting commands and turning the Valhari fleet against itself. Throughout Earth orbit, alien vessels fired on each other. Command systems went dark. Communication failed. On the Avenger, Commander Carter watched, in amazement. "The Prometheus protocol is working better than we hoped. Their entire fleet is in chaos." He gave new orders. "All ships move in. Target any vessel still under control. Focus on Miraleth's command ship." Earth's fleet, now numbering 50 ships, engaged the confused enemy. The battle was still dangerous. Even disabled Valhari vessels were powerful. But for the first time, humans had a clear advantage. Diane's shuttle barely made it back to Earth. They landed at a hidden base in Scotland where medical teams rushed to help the wounded. "Did it work?" Diane asked weakly. She had been hit during their escape. "It worked," Alan told her over the communication link. "The virus is spreading through their whole system. Their fleet is tearing itself apart." On the Dominion, Miraleth fought to regain control as systems failed around her. Fire broke out on several decks. Life support was failing. "Prepare my personal shuttle," she ordered. "We must return to Xanthar Prime immediately." She barely escaped as her flagship broke apart. Most of her officers were not so lucky. In the days that followed, the remains of the Valhari fleet retreated beyond the asteroid belt. For the first time in 3 years, Earth's skies were clear of enemy ships. President Miller addressed the survivors in a global broadcast. "Today marks a turning point. The enemy has been pushed back. But our work is not done. They will return with more ships, more weapons. We must be ready." Dr. Reyes and her team worked to improve the Prometheus protocol. "Next time they'll have defenses against it," she warned. "We need new weapons, new strategies." But there was more hope now. Captain Foster's intelligence network had made contact with other worlds conquered by the Valhari. The Novel, a species from the Centauri system, had maintained a hidden resistance. For generations, they were eager to share information and join forces with humans. "We're not alone anymore," Diane told the War Council. She had recovered from her wounds and now held the rank of admiral. "Other species have been waiting for someone to stand up to the Empire." Commander Carter proposed a bold plan. "We've defended long enough. It's time to take the fight to them. With the Novel's help, we can strike at Valhari supply lines and bases outside our system." In his throne room on Xanthar Prime, Emperor Xanthex received news of the disaster at Earth. 3 years, thousands of ships and millions of soldiers lost to a species that should have surrendered in days. "No more ships to Earth," he ordered. "Finally. Quarantine the entire system. No Valhari vessel is to approach that planet again." His advisors were shocked. "We're abandoning the conquest?" "Not abandoning," the Emperor corrected. "Containing. These humans are dangerous. They learn too quickly. If they make contact with other conquered worlds." He left the thought unfinished. But for the first time in Empire history, fear could be seen in a Valhari Emperor's eyes. On Earth, preparations began for the next phase of the war. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting for freedom, not just their own, but for all worlds under Valhari control. The Empire had challenged Earth. Now, the challenge would be returned. The Empire challenged Earth. Now their worlds lie in ruins. Part 5 years after the Valhari first arrived at Earth, everything had changed. Humans were no longer prey. They had become hunters. Commander Alan Carter stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Resilience. It was larger than his previous ships, built with a mix of Earth technology and systems from 6 different alien species. Through the main window, he could see hundreds of ships flying in formation. Not just human vessels, but ships from the Novel, the Kreth, and 3 other races that had joined what was now called the Alliance. "We are ready to begin the final approach to Xanthar Prime," said Lisa Pearson, now an admiral herself. She had been with Alan since the first day of the war. "Signal all ships," Alan ordered. "Operation Freedom begins now." The massive fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, using technology that Dr. Olivia Reyes had developed. The Valhari had always said such travel was impossible the way humans did it. But Olivia had found a way. On Earth, President Miller watched. From the new command center built under the ruins of Washington, D.C., Earth was healing. Cities were being rebuilt. Fields that had been scorched by Valhari weapons were green again. "The fleet has jumped," reported General Jackson. He had served, throughout the war, directing Earth's ground forces. Admiral Foster's intelligence ships are already in position. Diane Foster had risen to become head of Alliance Intelligence. Her network of spies and scouts had spread throughout Valhari space. For 2 years, they had gathered information about the Empire's weaknesses, made contact with resistance groups on conquered planets, and prepared for this day. "All teams reporting ready," Diane said through the communication link. "The Empire has no idea we're coming." The war had changed after the Prometheus Protocol victory. Humans had pushed the Valhari out of Earth's solar system. Then, with help from the Novel, they had begun liberating nearby star systems. Each freed world joined the Alliance, bringing new technology and fighters to the cause. Dr. Reyes had created faster-than-light communication systems that allowed the Alliance to coordinate attacks across vast distances. This innovation gave them an advantage the Empire couldn't match. "The Valhari still think we're fighting a defensive war," Diane had explained to the Alliance Council. "They don't realize we're preparing to strike at their heart." After 5 years of war, the Empire was weakening. Many Valhari had begun questioning their leaders. Stories of Earth's resistance had spread, causing unrest on worlds that had been under Imperial control for centuries. 20% of their fleet has defected or simply disappeared, Diane reported. Some Valhari officers refused to fight anymore. This was never supposed to be a long war. The Empire doesn't know how to handle it. Now the Alliance fleet appeared at the edge of the Xanthar system. The Imperial homeworld was protected by defense stations and hundreds of warships. But many of those ships were old. The Empire had committed its best forces to fighting rebellions across its territory. "They've detected us," Alan announced as alarms sounded across the Resilience. "All ships, engage as planned. Remember your targets." The battle for Xanthar Prime began. Alliance ships attacked in waves, using tactics that confused the Valhari. They struck from multiple directions, changed formation constantly, and targeted specific weaknesses rather than trying to destroy whole ships. On Xanthar Prime, Emperor Xanthax received the news with disbelief. Humans and their allies attacking the Imperial capital. It was unthinkable. "How did they reach us?" he demanded. "No one can navigate the dust clouds around our system without our guidance beacons." But they had. Dr. Reyes's navigation systems were better than anything the Empire had. The Alliance ships moved through space in ways the Valhari had never seen before. "Send all available ships to defend the palace," Xanthax ordered. "The humans must not reach the surface." But it was too late. While the main fleet engaged the Imperial defenses, smaller ships slipped through. Transports carrying special forces from Earth and other Alliance worlds landed near the Imperial Palace. Admiral Diane Foster led the ground assault personally. Her team moved quickly through the golden halls of the palace, facing surprisingly little resistance. "The guard units are deserting," reported Joe Kelly, still at Diane's side after 5 years of war. "Many just dropped their weapons and ran when they saw us coming." The Valhari had never expected to fight in their own palace. The idea that lesser species could reach Xanthar Prime had seemed impossible. In the throne room, Emperor Xanthax prepared to flee. His advisors and guards had already abandoned him. But before he could reach his escape ship, the doors opened. Admiral Foster and Commander Carter entered, along with representatives from each Alliance world. Emperor Xanthex, Alan said calmly. In the name of Earth and the Alliance, I place you under arrest for crimes against intelligent species. The Emperor stared in shock. How is this possible? You are nothing. Primitives on a single world. You made a mistake, Diane told him. You judged us by our technology, not by what we could become. You assumed we would surrender like others before us. And now your empire is falling, Alan added. Not just because of our weapons, but because you taught the galaxy that resistance is possible. Within hours, news of the Emperor's capture spread across Valhari space. Many Imperial ships surrendered without fighting. Others joined the Alliance. Some fled to distant systems. On Earth, people celebrated as President Miller announced the victory. Today marks not just the end of our war, but the beginning of a new era. Earth is no longer alone in the universe. We have friends, allies, and a place in a larger community. In the weeks that followed, representatives from Earth and other worlds met on Xanthar Prime to form a new galactic council. Unlike the Empire, this council gave equal voice to all member worlds. Dr. Reyes led a team of scientists from different species, working together to share knowledge and technology. We're stronger together, she explained during the first council meeting. Each species brings different skills and ideas. Together we can build something better than any of us could alone. Commander Carter watched the signing ceremony that officially disbanded the Valhari Empire. In its place, the Galactic Council would govern through cooperation rather than conquest. We didn't just win a war, he said to Admiral Foster as they looked out at the stars from the palace balcony. We changed how different worlds see each other. The Empire challenged Earth, Diane replied with a smile. Now their worlds lie in ruins, not just physically, but their whole way of thinking. Across the galaxy, former Valhari subjects began rebuilding their societies. Earth sent teachers, doctors, and engineers to help worlds damaged by centuries of imperial rule. The knowledge humans had gained during their own resistance proved valuable to others seeking to rebuild. The empire that had seemed unstoppable was gone. In its place was something new, built not on fear and conquest, but on respect and cooperation. And at its heart was Earth, the planet that had refused to surrender when all seemed lost. The stars, once the domain of a single empire, now belonged to everyone.